Spanish fly coming at you, straight from the 90s.
Hispanics make up the largest number of gangs. Hispanics make up the largest number of gangs.
Woke up in the morning, bullets fly through my door. I had at least 5 grams, well, a little more. Had to get to the bathroom to press the rocks down. Shocking in my face, they beat me to the ground. They came because I slang. It's not the same, it's the same when you're dealing cane. They cuff me up.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of West Coast Street Knowledge. I'm your host, Gil, aka the American Cholo, and today I have for you the homie from the 110 South area, a member of the very first Chicano rap group, Spanish Fly, Mr. David ARELLANO Zamora. S.A. Daz, what's going on, Playboy?
So, brother, how you doing? Just getting back from Costco, you know, getting some groceries, but I'm ready to roll.
That's right, brother. So let's talk about it, man. What area were you from?
Yeah, I grew up in the area called the Harbor area, which, you know, is around all those cities. You got Harbor City, you got Wilmington, Carson, San Pedro, Long Beach.
Oh, so you guys are over by the docks, right?
Yeah, by the docks. Yeah.
That's right. So were you born there or did you move up there?
I was born there. I was born in Harbor City. Oh, shoot. You know what, dude?
Hold on. That dog's banging Harbor City, homie. That's what he's doing. That's all right, brother. Trust me, I got 2 of them. Don't even trip, man.
All right, little basset hound. But anyway,
what kind of dog you got?
Huh?
What kind of dog you got?
Oh, a basset hound.
Oh man, no, hold on, homie. Hold on.
Oh, you got one?
Hold on. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh.
I don't know if you can see the tattoo, homie.
Oh, I saw it. Hey, bro, I love this little guy, man.
Oh yeah,
cool, bro.
That's my boy right there. That's my boy Scooter, man. But he's getting older. He's got 14 years, man. He's still going.
Oh, see, this guy, his name Smokes. He's only 2 years, and sometimes, cause he jumps off shit, I'm like, man, you gonna mess your hips up, man. You know, it's like, he's still a little pup, but
that's right, brother. There you go. See, we got something in common there. Wait, and he's got the bark. That's why I heard that bark. I said, wait, that bark sounds familiar, man.
Yeah, what is that?
All right, so let's get back to it, man. Don't even trip. So, how was your upbringing?
My childhood was really good, man. Like I said, you know, my parents are from Purépeto, Michoacán. They came here for a better life, and they worked hard. You know, my mother was a seamstress, making dresses for all the quinceañeras or weddings. Right. You know, making some money to help, you know, to raise for her kids. And my dad, you know, he was a carpenter. And just, you know, that ethic, that work ethic, man, get up every morning, go to work, and they did pretty well, you know what I mean? There's 5 of us. I'm the youngest, and they did pretty well. I mean, you know, here and there.
So they came from Michoacán, right? So were any of your brothers and sisters born in Mexico?
Actually, all of them were born in Tijuana, because from Michoacán, they lived a while in Tijuana.
Right.
In Tijuana, they relocated down to the Harbor area. And so they were all born pretty much, I think, in Tijuana, brother. And then they came out here. I'm the only one that was born in the States, man.
That's right. What year were you born?
Well, 73. I was
73. That makes you what, 47?
47, yeah.
That's right, brother. So how was elementary school, and then walk me through junior high in the Harbor area back in those days?
Man, elementary was cool. I mean, I vividly remember parts of it. You know, I remember my teachers and stuff, and it was cool. Middle school was cool still, but I remember in middle school, you start seeing the whole gang culture. I remember the Bloods and the Crips, and I remember being a little homie, man, getting punked, man. It's crazy because the Samoans are big dudes, you know, and in Carson, we have a lot of Samoans. Right. And I remember the Bloods and the Crips, and and they started like jumping people. And that's when I started seeing that kind of stuff coming in. Right. And the interesting part was even the essays, like, it's funny because in those times, I didn't see much of that yet. It was kind of like I saw a lot of Bloods and Crips where I was growing up and in middle school, you know, and then you get to high school. I remember now I saw a lot more essays, and it was racial. It was crazy.
Right. But you were you involved in music at an early age?
Yeah, I got involved. Yeah, I would say rapping 13. But I say around that age I was DJing. Even before the Spanish Fly, I was a DJ with my buddy Frank, and we had a group called Chill Attractions. which was DJing, and then our buddy Richard, Rich Rock, he was rapping, got into the rapping. So yeah, it was more a DJing and the whole hip hop thing and the break dancing and
That's
all
right.
that. But music was always a part of my life, man, even from my family, you know.
So what kind of records were you spinning back then at those parties when you were about 16, 17?
Oh man, you know, and the DJ those years, I still have the records back here, you know.
All right.
Just that like I remember Supersonic, Push It.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, hell yeah.
Like Trenier, you know what I mean? Expose, all that, you know what I mean? I mean Technicolor and Diamond Girl.
Man, homeboy, you're taking it back to Magic Mountain, carnal.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I remember playing. I was a little, hey, play this, play that. Oh, I had all those records, you know, because that's what everyone wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all that kind of stuff, man. The beat goes on, and
Hey, there was some great music back in the mid to late 80s, man. I think much better than it is now, brother.
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I would say, even though I make hip hop and I love I love the 80s. To me, I think the 80s was the best.
Yeah,
It's the music I like to listen to. I don't know. It's just something about the 80s that I love, man.
Well, I think it started from the roots. It really began as organic, and nowadays it's kind of more corporate America as far as the music industry goes.
No, you're right. You're right.
So, when did you guys, or actually, how many of you guys were in Spanish Fly? Because I've seen some say 3, some say 4. I don't know. There's that kind of rumors. Let's clear the rumors of who was in Spanish Fly and how many of you guys were there, brother.
Right. Yeah. At that time, you know, when with the whole thing with the 18 with a bullet and the Trust No Man, at that point when we got out of the whole hip hop, it started becoming a little more street with the music. Yeah, there was originally it was myself, my homie Frank Tricks, and Este Rich Rock, which he rapped most of the songs, and we're all kind of throwing in ideas and DJing. But we did have 2 other members, and one of them was Toker Ruben, who you know, kind of gave ideas and just give input. And then we had another guy, Danny, rest in peace, who passed away. And Danny McCarthy, he used to roll with us and make little beats and kind of give ideas. So on the cover, on the Trust No Man, when you do see like 4 of us,
right?
And that's Toker is part of that. His brother, you know, big ups to him, is Javier. He's from Wilmington, from Weemots. He did that cover, the 18 with a bullet. So much love to him, man. But so that's why you see kind of like 4 people instead of 3. But primarily, you know, Rich Rock, myself, and Frank were doing all the kind of like the rapping and the producing.
So how long were the 3 of you guys actually a group?
I would say, yeah. So we were probably started like in the 90. We probably, man, it's almost kind of like as soon as it started, it was over, because if we got to think back, you're making me think as far as years, shoot, 22, maybe, I don't know, man, maybe 3-4 years, you know, or so, I would say, because it's almost like as soon as we took off, things kind of like ended, man. It was interesting, you know what I mean, how it all went down. But yeah, it didn't last very long, brother.
Yeah, do you think it was the pressures of it, or what do you think? What do you think yourself, your opinion, that really tore the group apart?
I think there's a lot of things that came into play. Number one, we were young kids. You know, we got egos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, as you know, and at the time, I would say, I don't want to say drugs played a part, but maybe, like, you know, we're smoking a lot of weed and other things and stuff. Not all of us, you know, but, and so, during that time, we had a lot of turmoil within the group, like just different ideas and things like that. And so when I think back now, I'm like, man, you know, it's kind of stupid, but being young in a group and having different ideas, and then you mix in drugs with it, we just kind of, like, I wouldn't say me per se, but like certain members just kind of stopped getting along. And yeah, and because when we finished the album, I mean, I pretty much finished it with Toker, and then Rich Rock was a challenge to get him to go too. And it was just, it was a sad thing, because, I mean, you know.
But what weren't, let's say you guys are in the studio, what was a fight that you guys would sit there, or not just you in particular, but let's say Rick Rock or somebody would have an actual fight over what would you guys be arguing about?
Um, I would say ideas with the music as far as like what type of songs we should be making,
Okay.
records, that kind of thing. Um, but I will say a lot of it was the drugs,
Okay.
because as we know, when you get heavily into drugs, you're not the same.
Yeah, of course, brother. Of course.
You can easily change up even with your own family and friends. I mean, I've experienced that with other situations
Yes.
with things like that. So I think that was a big part of it. Thinking back, and again, you're being young. Rich Rock gets someone pregnant. He's a young guy. He's a young kid. We go back to who's supporting him, and now I think back, I'm like, damn, why didn't I even offer? I mean, I know I was there for the dude, but I'm
Right.
like, I didn't know. It's just kind of like you're a young kid. You got someone pregnant. Damn, money. Like and so there wasn't a support system there
Right.
from I feel, and so a lot of those things I think happened.
Well, did you guys have anybody mentoring you guys, or were you guys just kind of doing it all on your own?
No, not really. We pretty much were on our own, you know what I mean? And we didn't really have the mentoring as far as like when some of the members were going through certain situations. I think the people that were trying to help us, it was more on like a business end, as far
Right.
as like, trying to get you guys to the next level, get signed, money. It was more on that tip, you know.
Right.
So
Were
we
you
didn't,
guys actually making decent dough, or no money at all? I mean, how much, what kind of money would you guys say you were making back then?
well, in that time, we're so young, and it's kind of hard when you're not the one that's per se the label, or you're not, it's just being a young kid, experience.
Of course.
You just want to be out there, right? Like, oh, I'm get my music out. So you don't the business end of it. You're so young, you're not onto it yet, So did I make some money? Yeah, because Miss Murray, who put us out, which was a teacher at Carson High,
Right.
he took. I'll say he took care of me, like as far as like, you know what I mean. As far as taking care of me with equipment, as far as giving me money. So I did make some money. I'm not gonna complain.
Right.
But I think when you talk about group, it makes me think about NWA in a way, like how Jerry Heller had Easy,
Yeah, of course.
how Cube, was like, hey, what's going on? Now that I think about it, I'm like, oh, you start to see, oh, that's what happened. Like certain members, like, hey, what's up? What's going on? So I'd say those kind of situations happened.
So how did I'm sorry, I missed the name of that teacher you said from Carson.
Oh, his name is Murray Brumfield. He was the owner of Familia Records, which we're the first group he ever put out.
Okay.
After that came like a lot of artists like Little Rob, Little One, Mr. Shadow from San Diego. Like after us came a lot of other groups.
On his label.
Familia Records was his label. And, people debate all the time, like, oh, he's not the first, but I mean, he was close to it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because he's probably part of that whole, like, we were one of the first groups to come out. So, but he's the one that kind of, he put us out there, bro.
And how did you guys get involved with him?
Well, at Carson High, he was, I believe, a history teacher.
Okay.
And he was that teacher that, you have a teacher where open door and you go in there. He was playing the hip hop, and
That's right.
all the kids wanted to be in. He was a cool teacher, right?
Right,
So
right.
if you wanted to go and play music and hear hip hop, you'd go there. So even the MC Razcast from Carson, he's dope MC. I remember he was part of that, and we go in there and I play. We had made the whole Trust No Man album on a cassette. Right. We did it with the 4-track turntables and records, and we took him the demo. We took him the tape, and I remember, man, he played that thing, and he was like, his eyes just lit up, man. And he was so impressed. If it wasn't the next day, it was that week. He was like, okay, he took us to Paramount Studios in Hollywood, brother. And I remember going to these big studios and seeing a bunch of big artists. One time I saw Cube in there and big mixing boards. He took us there.
Right.
And we did the whole album, brother. Like, it was just like that week, man. He had us in there. We worked on that album.
That's right, brother. So then now you guys are, you guys did your first album. You guys are having internal beef. When did you know that the group was pretty much done as far as the original members?
Yeah, I would say midway, getting that album done. Like I said, we were going to Paramount Studios. we were also going to his name was DJ Wino, Brian Dobbs. He was the one that produced that Coolio, first Coolio, Fantastic Voyage.
Yeah.
He was from Carson. So we were going to his pad too to put some samples together, because when we did ours, we only had a 4-track. We didn't have like the drum machines at the time. So we would go there and Paramount Studios, and I remember it was just me and my boy Toker, Ruben.
Right.
And I remember like, bro, what's up? Like, I mean, even my buddy Frank Tricks wasn't around at the time. And it was because Rich Rock, and there was some stuff going on.
Right.
Even Rich Rock wasn't around sometimes, you know, so it was just us two. And that's when I kind of knew. I was like, man, you know, this is not right. It shouldn't be this way. But that's when I kind of knew, man, after this album, I don't really know what's going to happen.
Right. So then after the album dropped, I don't know if that album was, but I think you guys sold actually a pretty good amount of copies for that day and age, no?
Yeah, brother. I actually got the SoundScan years ago. I'm sure that album we're gold now, but it was at 350,000 copies, something like that.
Yeah, that's major, brother.
This was back in the day. And I have the SoundScan for that. So, you know, fast forward to 2020, I mean, I still sell those CDs. They still buy them off
That's
my website.
right.
So, you know, I don't know. We probably close to 500,000 now as far as that album and that 18 with a Bullet. But it did about 300-some thousand back in those days with no radio play, because no one was going to play that song. There was no major label push.
Right.
We didn't have money. It was just like Eazy-E did it, just out the trunk, man.
Listen, brother, nowadays, the Valle, where I'm from, and where the Harbor area, doesn't seem that far because we're older, we got cars and all that. But
Right.
back then, you go to the Valle Harbor, that's a whole world away. We had those tapes over here, brother. And we were definitely bumping those tapes, carnal.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, you're right. And you know, how did they get there, right? Like, hey, he was out there, word of mouth, I guess.
Yeah.
That's how you did it back then. It's not like now you got social media. Anyone could be a rap star. I mean, just be honest. Some guys are good, but the bad part I think with that is that you got a lot of good, but you got some whack shit that it's just so flooded nowadays. Back then it wasn't like that. You know what I mean? And then it was word of mouth and it got around. It was organic in a way.
No, it definitely was. So then what year did Spanish Fly pretty much just quit, or did they quit and you guys keep going, or how did that go on?
It just kind of like I said, after that album, man, we just kind of like, a lot of us didn't talk anymore. I kept in touch with, you know, Toker, like I said, and then Frank, which is Tricks, one of the main guys of the group. We kind of would talk here and there, but yeah, we just kind of like stopped hanging. Things happened, and Rich kind of went his way and got caught up in things, and you know. But I always knew that for me that group was classic. I always felt like that we had, because before the group ended, you know, I just found a flyer recently. We had a flyer. We were about to open up for Cypress Hill, bro. Wow. If that would have went through, we would have probably plateaued into a bigger status. But some stuff happened with their management. It didn't happen. But it's funny. So I just wanted to continue. So I ended up kind of putting another group together, and I added different members, but still Spanish Fly. And that's how that came about.
Okay, and, so that's how they said the original Spanish Fly and the other Spanish Fly, let's say, after, right?
Yeah, because like I said, everyone kind of did their own thing, and then my buddy Frank at the time, Tricks, he kind of like got into the Christian rap and stuff.
Okay.
Kind of became a Christian, and which much respect to him for that. And you know, it helped him in his life, and he kind of got into that music. So I continued with the secular, you know, and so I was like, I want to keep going.
So how many years did it take you to figure out how unfortunate that situation was with you guys, and how you guys broke up, not just as a group, but I mean, losing so many friends, brother? Yeah,
I think, I mean, definitely now I really think about the impact, and I'm like, damn, we fucked up like that. We had something good, you know. But I mean, I think late 90s or maybe like even 2000s, I already knew that. I'm kind of like, man, that's jacked, you know. Like we were, because before the music, we were friends. I mean, you gotta understand, Rich Rock, forget the rap, he lived around the block from me, and we were out there playing football in the street, baseball. I mean, that kid was talented, bro. He had like algebra 2, like in the 9th grade, and he was a pitcher, you know. He was a talented overall kid, and we all were, and we all grew up together, friends, you know. So when I think about it that way, it's like, man, you know, because I wish that you know, certain things could have been done different, so we could still. I mean, Frank, we talk we don't talk every day, but we still talk. So I'm
That's
happy
right.
with that. You know, we're still back in contact, and Rich Rock, no, but so I definitely think about that a lot. Yeah.
Now, were the guys older than you in the group? Were you the youngster of the group?
Yeah, I was like the younger one, not much younger, but yeah, Frank, he's about maybe 2 years older than me, so I was a little younger than them. I was the one kind of like, you know, Rich Rock was already rapping. I was kind of DJing and kind of like getting, you know, his skill set, kind of seeing how he was writing and kind of learning at the same time.
Right. So then after your guys' thing sold, you started the new Spanish Fly. How long did that go before you kind of did you keep going with Spanish Fly, or did you start veering off another stuff?
Yeah, what happened was when I did the second Spanish Fly, which we did an album called Crimes of Agony, that album, what I did was when that other group kind of, you know, it messed up and it broke up, I kind of said, you know, how can I keep this together? You know, in my head at the time. So I had my nephew was rapping. I added him in the group. He had a friend who, rest in peace, Fino, my boy, man. The funny thing is we had the same last name, Arellano, but we're not related. But, you know, I put him in the group. And then I discovered Johnny D, which is the guy that I'm doing his album now.
Right.
Johnny D is out of Wilmington, and I believe I was at a party or something. He grabbed the mic. House party, he got on the mic and just rapping, going. I was like, man, this youngster's dope, you know? And I remember that's how I kind of got him. I'm like, this guy right here, we need him in the group.
That's all right.
So that's how I got him into it. And yeah, we made it out. We did an album. And in that time, that's when the Pocos Pero Locos was kind of coming up. You know
That's
what
right.
I mean? The E.W. Kool-Aid. And so they started that. And the interesting part about that is Murray Brumfield, Familia, I remember this. He took me with them and said, hey, I got a meeting with E.W. Kool-Aid, I believe. And they were talking about doing a radio show. I remember this. And they wanted to do like a radio show for Chicanos or whatever to play the hip hop we were making.
Right.
We weren't getting played. We didn't get no love on the radio. So I went with him to that meeting, and that's when I met them. And it's just crazy because obviously they did their own thing. They didn't, Murray and them didn't do a show.
Right.
I think they had different ideas of what they wanted the show to be like. But anyway, they did Pocos Pero Locos, and somehow I don't know if that's how we developed a relationship. They reached out to me. I can't remember that, but that's when that happened with them. And then I kind of put that group together, and we ended up doing an album, which was, I don't know, maybe 2006 or something, maybe something like that. And that's kind of where we did the Crimes of Agony album with that second Spanish Fly at that time.
Now, throughout all this time that you're doing music back and forth, what are you doing educational wise? Are you guys still going? Are you still going to school? Are you dropped out? What's going on with you?
No, yeah, out of all the members, I mean, I graduated. You know, my homie Rich, I don't think he graduated. I don't think Rich Rock did. I think Frank, he ended up going to Eagle Tree. Eagle Tree, I think it was like a continuation.
Right.
He did that. I graduated from Carson. And yeah, man, for me, you know, with that 18 with a Bullet, and when that came out, we did some shows. I remember we went up north, and I think Kid Frost performed too. There's a few other groups. And I remember doing that show, and it was crazy, man. The Norteños weren't having it. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, wow.
it was crazy at the time. Like, holy shit, you know? But we went out there, and Rich Rock did his thing, and it got, I don't know if when he was performing is when it broke out. Like, it was just all these guys fighting. It got crazy.
Right.
I remember, you know, getting home, and then, you know, I was like, let me think about this. And I always thought about kind of like, what's going to happen with Chicano rap, or what are we, I kind of had a feeling it wasn't going to get there, bro. Not to say that it can't, but I mean, we're in 2020 and we're still having conversations. I have conversations all the time. Why do you think Chicano rap didn't blow up? I mean, I have my idea why, but it's like, we're still talking about this in 2020. You know, there's no superstars as far, and we're talking mainstream.
Oh, okay, wait a minute. What's your idea?
My philosophy, okay. Here's my theory. I think there's a few reasons for it.
Okay.
Number one, I think it's label executives. I think it's capital. I think it's money. I think it comes down to money, number one. And what I mean by that is, let's just look at reggaeton music and Chicano rap. Let's call it that. Whatever, right? Let's look at Cardi B Let's look at Bad Bunny. Let's look at Spanish Fly, Little Rob, whoever, King, whoever. I don't know who you can
Yeah,
name.
yeah,
Them.
yeah.
Okay, now I'm an exec, the people at top, and I'm just putting myself in those situations. Like, okay, who's bringing me money? Bro, off the bat, reggaeton's making money. And you gotta look at the music. It's party music. They play it in the clubs. They play it every time I turn on a radio night. They got their own. All you hear is reggaeton, bro. And I'm just being honest. Like now, so I think part one is capital. Like execs are not gonna put money into something that they don't see that money coming back. They're gonna put their money.
They don't see a return on their investment.
Right, and I don't blame them. If I have millions of dollars or something, and I got, let's just say, I'm not talking bad, but and then add the other aspect. He's a Cholo rapper, let's just say, and he's out in the corner still gangbanging.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put $100 in you when you're gonna get locked up next week, homeboy. Like I'm not doing it. So I think number one is that execs are like, because if you think about it, Cardi B is signed to Atlantic major labels. You know what I mean? What Bad Bunny? What is it? Universal maybe. So they're backing them. They're Latinos. They're not maybe Mexican American, but they're Puerto Rican or whatever.
Right.
So they're pushing money there because that music, for some reason, like I said, party music. Everyone likes to party. It's fucking selling, right?
Yes.
Advertising them up. They got commercials. Chicano, they're represented that way. Obviously, number one, I think it's that. I think number two, my opinion is status quo. It's not the it thing to do. And I don't. That's no disrespect. I do the music,
Right.
but I'll give you an example. Kids I work with. And there was a time I'd ask, hey, who do you listen to? Most often than not, it was never a Chicano rapper. And if they did mention one, it's because their dad put them onto it. Or a family member said, hey, did you hear the Spanish Fly? Right? But never, and sometimes it was not even rap. It was some other type of music. Now, if it was rap, it was a black rapper, right? Now, again, I'm not blaming us, but like who's pushing that? Because all you see Snoop Dogg's, that's what was fed to us, and that's who holds the cards, those labels, that's who they push.
Right.
So I think that's another thing. It's not the status quo. It's not the it thing to do, and I'm telling you that because I remember my nephews, I'd play them the music when they were small and they were like, oh, this is cool, right? They went to school and around their friends like, that's whack. That's whack. All of a sudden they come back, that's just whack. I'm like, but what you liked it last week? Nah, it ain't cool no more. So that's another thing. Another thing I think, I will say maybe race plays a card. What I mean by that is like the people in power, whether it's black people or black execs or the Jewish people, because Jewish people would control the music business too. Whoever's there, I don't know, because I'm not in the meetings with them, but maybe they don't want Chicano rap to be the it thing, homie. Maybe they just like it the way it is. Maybe the black, this is what's going to be the thing. And we don't want these guys or this, we don't want that to be the mainstream. It ain't going to happen. I don't know. That's my other theory. And then I think ourselves, I think the other aspect is us. What I mean by us is the machismo, that was whack. And I'll give you an example, and I'll accept it. In the 90s, when we were coming out, not per se me, because I did try to thinking back, I did want to collab with guys, I'll be cool to do shit with this guy. Like thinking me, and I'm not,
yes.
I'm not embarrassed to say it. Like, I'll be like, man, I wish I could do a song with Frost back then, right? But then it wasn't reciprocated, you know what I mean? Like, if I would reach out to people or something, I won't say no names, but they don't even know a homie, you know what I mean? Like, they wouldn't get back to me. Not to say they have to, but you could at least, hey, you know what, man, maybe we can't do a record, but let me help you this way. Hey, maybe I can have you open up for me in a show. And that's one thing I see with the new generation of Latino and Chicano rappers. I see a little more of that where they help each other. Because me, I'm collaborating with some young homies. When it's like, what happened when I was coming up with those artists? We were all, so we ourselves, we jacked it up. I think that plays a part. And another example, let's just say, right, that in order to make it, you have to do different type of music, maybe. So let's say a Chicano rapper wants to do reggaeton. He's like, hey, homie, I ain't trying to do that street rap. I want to do a reggaeton record because I want to try to sell. Let's just say, right? What happens when he makes that record? Fuck that fool, homie.
Yeah.
We don't do that type of music, homie.
Yes.
We don't do reggaeton rap, bro. We don't do that. Okay, so that's hating our own people. And I have to say that I back 6ix9ine or this artist. I'm not a hater either. Like, I'm not, I'm just calling it like it is. Our own culture looks at it and says, you're a sellout. So that's another part. And I think those are the things that I feel prevents Chicano rap from getting there. Now, I will say that maybe Chicano rap ain't supposed to be here.
Right.
Maybe Chicano rap is a thing that is our thing. Like this is our shit. And within here, you can maybe tour, you can make some money. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's not meant to be the mainstream, or if it is, maybe 20 years from now.
I think that Chicano rap, now when you hear Chicano rap, you kind of think of a B movie instead of an A-list movie, okay, first of all. Back in the days when they were bumping Kid Frost, when he came out with his stuff, that was just regular rap and it was banging.
Right.
Little Rob, banging. For those stuff were it produced right, banging right. But I think it goes back to that when you say machismo thing. I think the gang culture in Southern California kind of destroyed Chicano rap because it started banging on this who's not from there, this who's not from here, this was not a gangbanger, and like you were saying, this guy's trying this, he's a chump, and here we go. We kind of destroyed that whole industry. What say you? You were in that industry.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna say something else that you saying that, I'll piggyback on that and say, what's funny to me is that you got NWA, you got Dr. Dre, who's never a damn gangster. He even looked like, you see how he was dressed on the cover, right? You got Ice Cube, who, much respect to him, he's a smart guy. He's a smart kid. He went to high school. He went to these schools. He went to college. He's smart, right?
Yes.
But he wasn't a gangbanger, you know, and maybe Easy's the only one. Other than that, but I'm saying, but hey, you got Chicano, oh, that Dre, oh, Cube, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, but then ourselves, oh, that fool, he's not from nowhere. He can't rap. He's not real. What do you mean? But you buy Dre, you buy all these other homies, the black artists, and they're not gangbangers, and they talk about gang shit, and you bump that. So why the hypocrisy, right? Like, why?
Because it goes back to that gang culture that we need to lose. But at the same time, that's also like the CEO looking at that. Do I really want to put $1 million in this fool if he's going to sit there and catch a murder or somebody kill him? Because one thing with us, and another thing they do too, is I don't think it's the black artists or the black execs keeping us down whatsoever. I actually had a good conversation with Karina Luna, and she said she would go to meetings with like big top African American guys who do shows and stuff, and she would say, "What's the problem?" And she's like, "Your people ain't watching it. Your people aren't watching it. It's there, but your people just aren't watching it." It's like we're embarrassed to see a lot of this stuff. Is there a lot of stuff that just should be straight on the ground? Yeah, absolutely. But there's a lot of guys out there that got talent, brother. But it's almost like, I think the movie industry, this is my thing. I think the movie industry a lot of times portrays us as the Joker from Friday. You know what I mean? I don't know if you remember that movie Cobra from Sylvester Stallone. He rips that guy's off, and he's essay, like a stupid ass essay guy, right? So they kind of portray us as like the buffoon essays, and it started where people started going away from that. So either they think we're buffoons or we're killers, and they don't really want to mess with us, brother.
You know what? You're right on, man. Because I think, I'll give you an example. Like around the time when I was with Kool-Aid Nita, and at that time I remember, there was we had MTV3. Like it seemed like for us it was getting there, because I remember I had a song called Something About You, and it was on MTV3, and it hit top 3, brother. I remember during that time, I remember going to the club and, hey, you're that one homie. Oh, you got that song. Oh, that's a good song, right? And so I tasted a little bit of the fame, right? Like I was like, oh crap, I even went to New York to go to MTV3 up there in New York.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wow, okay, so now they're playing a little more of us, right? So at the time, I remember Kool-Aid Dip saying, hey, you're a counselor. Wouldn't it be dope to have a show, positive show, to play on reality TV of a counselor who's also an artist, but you're doing something positive for the youth, right? I remember.
Right.
Now, they were trying to get that done. Now, it didn't happen. Now, we didn't go into it, but I bet you it was about, well, it ain't going to sell. Nobody wants to see that. Right. No one wants to see something good from our people. Like, here goes something that could be positive, right? But it didn't happen. What do you have? You have other shit. Not to say nothing bad, but it's not really positive for your family.
No, it's not.
Everyone watches it, brother. Yeah, so at the same time, what does it say about our society? What is it that for some reason that sells? For some reason, and so you're right. Like you need to show more Latinos, like you said, in different roles, not just the
Yes.
typical cholo buffoon, like you said. You know what I mean? And that
And,
goes across the board. Yeah.
and that's what it is. Because listen, right now you watch TV, and I'm like killing a dead horse, and I say this all the time, but it's true, dude. We're 18% of the population. We're not on TV, brother. And we are on TVs. We play the Joker role. All right. We should have more doctors, more lawyers, more TVs that show Latinos, Chicanos in a higher bracket of living instead of the same old stuff. And that will kind of get people more into watching us, because if they're not, they're still. It's almost like your younger nephews. They're still embarrassed to watch it.
Right. But hey, let me ask you a question though. Because I always wondered. So, so what do you, what do you think? Let's say a young Chicano who wants to be an actor, right? Let's say, and he goes to try to get a role, but his only role to give him is that cholo buffoon. Do you think they should say no, or do you think it's like, hey man, I gotta make a living? So, what do you think? What do you think? Because I always think about that.
That's a great question. I believe it's this. I believe you take what role they give you at the beginning. I think we are beginning to support each other much more, brother. We really are. I think that eventually, if you look at shows or platforms like Netflix, I watch Netflix all the time, brother. And you know what I watch Netflix a lot? I watch a lot of shows that are subtitled in pure Spanish. Even though I speak Spanish, but I watch like the La Cueros de Toledo. I watch some other just crazy. And these show owners of sports teams. These show doctors. These show lawyers. And that actually, when I'm watching these things, I'm watching all these Latinos in different forms. I'm like, dude, this is great. I think hopefully what we can do eventually is get together, hopefully bring Raza together, and start making our own platforms on Netflix, selling it to Netflix, where we don't need these people. And eventually we cut them out the game. And guess what? Once the Raza starts watching it and it catches on, they're going to come knocking looking for us, brother.
You know, what's interesting is that you're right, because now my mom used to watch novelas all the time. So when I think now, I'm like, hey, when those novelas were on, I did see doctors. I did, they're Mexican, right?
Yes.
They're professionals, bro. And so I think it kind of brought me back to the thought about the Chicano rap, because my other point was, I didn't tell you, but was I also think what comes into play is a generational gap. Like what I mean by that is like my parents, or, I remember when I was getting into rap, they were like, ¿Qué estás haciendo?
Yeah.
Rap? ¿Qué es rap? And they would say this, esos de negritos, like, we don't do that. You don't do that. You sing. And just being real, right? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, and so it's like, we have our own music. Sing cantas románticas en español. ¿Qué es eso? Eso no. So I think that's another thing that comes to play, because when you think about hip hop, I'm sure the jazz musicians support their hip hop artists hand in hand, brother. You didn't get that with Mexican bands, and not maybe now more, but I'm saying rap, they didn't really like it as much. So I think that was another point I was going to make.
Yeah, and I think also, okay, when I was doing my homework on you in Spanish Fly, I was listening to some of you guys' real early stuff off that documentary, by the way, which was a great documentary that everybody's got to watch on. It's on Prime, right? Amazon Prime. Yes. What's it called? So we can plug it real quick.
It's called Spanish Fly, pretty much straight.
It's like a half-hour documentary. It's actually a great piece of work. I don't know who put it together, but props to you guys, man. And I was listening to some of you guys' demo when it first came out. You know what I thought of? I'm like, wait a minute, man. These guys sound like the original hip-hop guys, because people think that hip-hop originally sounds like how you got these big YG, Snoop Dogg. No, man, they sounded like Roxanne, I'm the big Roxanne. It was the same thing as the Chicano rap. They sound the same exact way. They just evolved, and we were evolving. We were, like I said, Kid Frost, what's the name, Light Shit Brown. Those guys were going, and I don't know if you know, where did those guys just start peaking down? Where did it start dropping?
I don't know, man. I don't, when I think about it, I'm just like, sometimes I wonder if they were peaking down, or if it was just like, like we were talking about, if it's just kind of like, wasn't the it thing? That's a great question. Like when we just talked about it, the reasons, like, because I don't know if obviously now, the rappers now that they're evolving. You're right. Like lyrically, it's better. Some of them, I like it, and that's why I continue to work with them. But when you ask me the question with lighter shade in them, I kind of think that these labels, I feel they got dropped because the numbers weren't coming in.
Right.
My opinion. I think the record sales were not there compared to the black artists. Not to say that the Chicano artist was not as good, not as talented than the black artist. I just think for whatever reason, the money it wasn't showing, bro. You know, and like you said about that when you mentioned earlier about like the black exec or whoever said,
Right.
hey, the people ain't just they're just not feeling it or they're just
Right.
not watching it. So I think maybe that came into play where and then they were just like we got to let you go. I mean, this
Well,
is
I think also the reason that hip hop exploded as far as the African American community goes is because they went in hand with like the NBA basketball for them. You got some guy like Michael Jordan in there playing some ball, and every kid in the world, I don't care if he was white, Asian, Chinese, purple, he wanted to be MJ, brother. And then little by little, the NBA kind of morphed into a hip hop community, and boom, I mean, hip hop just exploded. Nobody thought hip hop was going to be that big.
you're right. I mean, and I think that's a great point. And I think when you look at ourselves or Latino or the Chicanos, we're not represented well. Like, and I'm talking about in those when you get to those levels, who do we have out there that's representing us like that? I mean, let's be honest. Like, we don't have those superstars, or if they do, they ain't listening to what we're doing. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Basketball players with the rappers, they go hand in hand, right? The basketball player wants to be the rapper wants to be the NBA player, but they back each other up, right?
Yeah,
I mean, where do you see that amongst us? I mean, who can we say that is there that is kind of like representing what we do, or like, or saying, hey, this guy right here, he's a rapper, but he also does this. Look, this guy's a smart man. He's a smart guy. He's representing for us. Where's that happening? I mean, maybe it is, but I'm saying I'm not seeing it in the mainstream. You know.
But you know what? Like I was saying, how we Netflix build our platforms. You know what's a platform that I've been keeping a good eye on, and they've been blowing up a little bit. Latin Beast, man,
Oh yeah,
on YouTube. I mean, he's at I think they're at 300,000 something subs plus, and they seem to be growing every year. And I want to say eventually, hopefully, you know, that platform can become huge where we're all on there, brother.
You know what? You know what's a great point, and I just thought, you know, even working with the youth, but I think too, and I'm gonna do this like for my kids or whatever. Like I think we have enough rappers. I mean, not to say that I'm gonna kill. If my son says, "Hey, I want to rap," I'll let him rap, but I'm gonna be like, "You're gonna have a backup plan." Kind of like I do, because you know, that's what you're gonna do. This. You want to rap on? Okay, that's cool. Do it, but let's see what happens. To me, it's more like, okay, forget the rapping, homie. Forget the producing. Why don't you become an exec? Like we need more executives up there in the labels with these Jewish people representing for us.
Yeah.
You know, we need people. We need attorneys. We need doctors. We need people in Netflix that are representing us in Netflix that are gonna say yes to our films.
Yes.
That's what I think we need. So the youth that's out there now, stop trying to be the best rapper in the world. I'm saying don't stop the rap, but I'm saying expand your mind.
No, absolutely.
On rap, brother. Like let's own these platforms, or like you said, Latin Beast. You're right. They have an opportunity to do something like that and have a song, or like you said, build that platform for our people, right? But I think that also my words of encouragement to the youth is like, hey, think of that. Maybe you need to be the executive. Maybe you need to be in this so you could represent us, you know, and say yes to our films because you relate to us instead of the guy saying, you know, I don't know about that. Because you don't relate to it, you know.
I think we as Raza a lot of times when something's corny, we just call it out and we just keep it pushing, brother. So that's what it is. And is there more corny Chicano rappers? Yeah, it's almost like the homie in the hood just rapping for you. But is there some very talented individuals? Absolutely, yes, brother. Absolutely. And I think that's what we need to showcase. We need to showcase those talented individuals, and eventually, I think we're pushing them there, and I think the wave is going in the right direction right now.
I agree, man.
So let's move this thing over to a little bit different topic now. So you said you graduated high school. Mm-hmm. So what did you keep doing with your education while you were doing your music?
Yeah. So, you know, like we talk about it, I won't touch too much on it, but I already knew like the Chicano rap. And, you know, we did a show up north with Spanish Fly. I saw how it went down. I'm like, hey, this Chicano rap thing is going to take a long time to get to where I wish it gets to. You know, like I say, we're still talking about it now, right? So I kind of was like, you know what, I'm gonna go get an education. But obviously, I did have mentors. Like for me, I had Murray Brumfield was one of them. Familia Records. He always used to tell me, "Hey, man, you know what? Get that education too, brother." You know. And then I had another teacher by the name of Mr. Neal. This is a crazy story because he was back then when we had more electives. He was a horticulture teacher, right? And you had all the knuckleheads in there, brother. I remember Samoan, all the gangbangers in there. I wasn't crazy like that, but I was in there. You know, I was chill. But and I use this with students now. But I remember he used to do on the chalkboard. He would draw pitchforks and then clouds on top, and everyone would look at him, and we look at him. What was this guy doing? You know, as a black teacher, it was real cool. And he would call you out. And my last name is Arellano. He'd be like, Arellano, you're going up. And I look at him, what? And then you're going down, you know, and we flip out, you know, we're like 16, 17, like, what is he talking about, you know? But what he meant, you know, was he pulled me to the side when we leave class and he'd be like, you know what, man? Because I was already doing the rap thing. And he's like, you're very talented. You're a good rapper, blah, blah, blah. But you ever think about one day you could help kids one day when you get older, go to college, and all that? He kind of put, you know, implanted that in my brain. And I remember at the time looking at him like, you're crazy. I don't want to do that. What are you talking about, right? But he foresaw, he saw something in me at that time. What's funny with that is, you know, years later, he guided me. He lived in Long Beach, but he lived in this. Have you ever been to Long Beach? It's like you can have a street that's kind of hood. Block over, man, it looks like you're in Beverly Hills. You know, and that's where he lived. I forget the name of where the area, what it was called. But anyway, he invited me to his home. I went over there, and I remember, man, and he'd take me to the backyard. And I remember we used to always clown and be like, man, I don't know, man, you smoke weed or something. We used to mess with them, you know? And he's like, oh, nah. And he was on to martial arts. Took me to the backyard, said, hey, come on, man. I remember I was like 21 at the time. And he's like, look, you know, you're an adult now. You know, here, you want a brew? Give me a beer. It was cool. You know, he sat down, he blazed a little. He had a collection of books, brother. Books everywhere. He said, hey, you know what? You need to read these books. You know, and I can't remember which book he was telling me to read, but we developed a relationship, and he mentored me, man. He's like, go to college. His wife, you know, he had a wife and kids, and I would see that, and I'm like, you know, man, this is kind of cool. You know, he had a peaceful life. And the funny thing is that he was a big part of me getting an education. And the funny thing is, a few years back, he retired, but he ended up teaching at City of Angels, which is like kind of like a continuation.
Right.
And people that in education that I knew me, I was like, hey, Neil, oh yeah, I know Neil. And so we got back in contact and we talked. And so
that's right.
And he had a big part of me going to college. So because I knew the music thing was, I was like, and you know, my parents, I had to help my family. So I also got an education. So I started going to college, bro. Yeah. And I enrolled in Cerritos College. And I remember, you know, they had Harbor College in Wilmington. But that was like, that was like a high school, bro. That was like, you go there, you're not even gonna graduate. You go there, hey, what's up, homie? You know?
Right.
And I was like, I'm gonna go to a school where nobody knows me. I don't know no one, and I'm gonna focus. And I remember going to Cerritos, you know, I was still dressed a little however I dressed at the time, but I handled my business, bro. I get in the corner, I just hit the books. And that's kind of where I started. And yeah, and I ended up getting my degrees and all that, you know?
So how many years did you end up going to college for?
I end up probably in total, I would say, I probably ended up being in college for like 5 years, 5 to 6 years, because, you know, like I said, I did my undergrad community college, and then I transferred.
Right.
You know, I went to Dominguez Hills up in Carson, you know, got my bachelor's degree. From there, I went to Azusa Pacific. I ended up getting my master's in education and a credential and
oh, wow.
I got a teaching credential and a counseling credential, which is called a PPS credential.
Right.
Which allows you to be a counselor like in the school level. And I can also do college. Like I was going to do the jump to universities, because with the master's, you can be a counselor and teach in college universities too.
That's right, brother. So that teacher was your Mr. Miyagi.
You're right. Yeah. It's funny, man. I just watched like Cobra Kai too, man.
so what are you doing with these master's degrees nowadays?
I'm a counselor, man. I'm a counselor at a school in the Boyle Heights, and I work with the youth, man. So I work with the kids in the, you know, education, personal, social aspect. So yeah, it's I love it, man. I mean, I love working with kids, but it's a challenge too, you know. So yeah, I give back, man, that way.
I mean, so you know firsthand how important a mentor is in education and in life, right?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
So now you're the mentor for these kids. I'm sure the street life, the growing up where you grew up, actually
Mhm.
helps you try to guide these kids in the right direction.
Oh yeah, it helps me, and primarily the school that I'm at. You know, big ups to Hollenbeck. Um, it's a community where kind of similar to where I grew up, so I can kind of relate to some of these kids. You know, um, but I will say that the majority of the kids, they're good, you know. But you have a small percentage of kids who, for whatever reason, maybe parenting or whatever, maybe they drop the ball. And some of these kids, brother, I'll be honest with you, it's they need a lot of help, and but it's not easy. You know, people. I just had an interview where they said, "Hey, man, you know, you work in schools, it must be kids probably look up to you," and I tell them, "Yeah," but at the same time, there's a challenge to that because like in 2008 when I had that hit record and some of the students knew who I was, they wanted to hang with me but kick it, you know, right? So that causes a challenge for me because now they just want to hang. So now I got to be like, hey, hold on, you know what I mean? So that's the challenge that for me is to get these little homies to buy into what I'm trying to tell them. It's a sound challenge, brother, because I'll give you an example. I had one particular student. I remember, man, this kid, man, he had so much potential. 12 years old, bro. 12 years old. But you can tell, I can tell the wannabes and the ones that are with it. What I
Yeah.
mean by that, like you know, right? And he was with it. And I know because his brother was an ex-gang member, went to prison. So he came, his family was kind of ingrained in that, not, you know, most of them.
Right.
So he was coming from that. So I did try to help the kid. So what I did was like I knew he had brains. He was smart. So I would put him in like uh, a higher class. He was a sixth grader. So I threw him in a seventh grade class where we were doing like this. The teacher and myself, we had stations, and we were talking to the kids about finances and about education and the difference between that. If you don't get an education, the money you can make versus you getting a degree, bachelor's, the money that, you know, you're making money now, but in the long run, you're going to make way more if you get
Yes,
educated,
sir.
right? So all that kind of thing, right? And the kid was grasping. He was grasping it. Now, I thought I had him, right? I'm like, damn, you going good? He looked for me and we talked. Now, here's the kicker, that when he went back to the neighborhood, now, whoever his homies were, or whatever, that influence was too big.
Yeah.
So he wasn't buying, after a while, he wasn't buying into what I was trying to teach the kid. And the sad part was that I had to keep it moving with the kids that were accepting what I was feeding them. You know,
Absolutely.
some kids they were buying into it. And some kids I talk to now, they're in college now. And they're like,
That's
hey,
right.
what, we're looking out, you know, and they're from the hood too. But this particular student, he ended up getting locked up, brother. You know, the homies in the hood, older homies, hey, hold this gun from me. You know the same old story. So
Yeah.
I think too, like if you're banging out there, you have a responsibility for these youngsters, homie. Like, you know, it's not a cool thing. So for me, the challenge is to, and I have to tell them, like, you know, whether you listen to the rap or whatever I said, it's entertainment, brother. It's like a
That's
movie.
right. That's right.
You know, if half of these rappers are doing what they say, they wouldn't be here. They get locked up. That's why when people say keep it real, like come on, homie, we keep it real. Like, you know what I mean? So my thing is, I always, besides educating them, I always talk to them like that, and I keep it real with them, bro. And I say, look, man, this is what's going down, the music, but this is what you need to do. And so for me, that's the challenge, that you're battling that. You're battling that community. You're battling some of these, you know, people still wanting to live that gang life. And what happens is you get the kids that are 12
Yeah.
going to prison because you're not changing that, you know?
Yeah, but they're so influential, and that cycle just keeps on going. Unfortunately, after we've gone through so much, we already know how. I mean, that's one thing I can say. At least it seems like now it's kind of where older guys are kind of at least admitting that it was a dead end. Back in our era, no, but it was just normal thing. That's what you do. You know what I mean?
Right?
Nowadays, you know, listen, you can have that same lifestyle with that same the fast life, but the fast life at work, at hustling, going to college, doing your thing, get your money, get your roof over your head, get your nice car, get your girl. You can do all that, but you don't got to slang dope, homie. You can slang what you got up here, playboy.
You're totally right, brother. And you know, it'd be cool. Like if you would be in the office with me, you would see it. And you're like, come on, man. Like same thing you're saying. For some reason, they'll tell you, yeah. And for some reason, some of them, it's almost like I always feel like there's some kids, and I think I was part of that, where, you know, I bought into when they would tell me, hey, instead of using that anger to be a thunk, you know, because, you know, I remember, oh, this teacher puts me down. They say that I'm not amounting nothing.
Right.
And they would be like, you know what? You take that anger and you do something positive. You prove them right. That's how you prove them wrong.
Right.
Education, and you come back. As I did that. I came back, and then, you know what? The truth was, some people showed me love and said, man, I never thought you would, but congratulations. And some people still kept hating. But who cares? I got to where I got to go, right? So I tell the kids all the time, like, well, the teacher don't like me, man. You know, so-and-so, you know, and I tell them, I get it. Some teachers can't relate, right? Because we have some teachers that can't the hood, bro. They didn't come from that. So I tell them, but who cares? You don't need to be their best friend. You just got to get from point A to B. You need to pass this class to get to the next step.
That's right, brother.
Some
hey,
kids,
God bless you for that part. I mean, that's some great stuff you're doing with them kids, man. You're definitely making a change. I'm sure it gets tough sometimes losing them every once in a while, but that's a good thing. Let's switch this up a little bit now.
Yeah.
What's up with you now? I see you got the homie Any Means in there. You got Johnny in there. What you got going on with these guys, man?
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting because years back too, you know, I put out my own album for a while, which is the Prince of the Harbor Area, kind of solo thing. You know, I just love to make music. You know, for me, it's more of the love of it. And, you know, coming from that, you know, like back in the day, the DJing, I just love to create, you know, and to produce. So I always was producing back in the 90s, even though I was rapping. But now, you know, what happened was Johnny D was always that group, that he was always part of that Spanish Fly, the other group I put together.
Right.
And I thought he got his due, because as soon as, you know, we did our thing, but things happened, and then I did my solo project, and I felt like, man, dude has talent, right? So somehow, I think he knew Anna Means, you know, and Anna Means reached out to him. Somehow, like, they talked, and I remember talking to Johnny about doing this album. And I remember a few other artists would hit me up about, hey, man, you should do like a group thing one day, you know? And I was like, you know, that's a good idea. So, in talking to Johnny, I remember, like, you know, he mentioned Anna Means, and I was like, you know what? I listened to his stuff. And I remember my boy Concrete, because Concrete shot some of my first videos.
That's right.
I helped him out, like, getting started with the videos. He shot one of my videos. I think the one I sent you. But anyway, so I remember him mentioning Anna Means back in the day. And so when Johnny told me that, I'm like, I started listening to him. And I'm like, man, this dude's dope, you know? And you know, because to me, some people say, well, Chicano shouldn't rap like that. To me, it's like, nah, we're evolving, brother. Like,
right.
You got to get with it. And his lyrical, you know, he's lyrically talented, you know? And so Johnny D, and then I kind of was like, you know, there's this guy Mox from Mexiclan. So I kind of put him in the group, and I just kind of, my whole philosophy was, I kind of want to create I want to produce a group kind of like a Latino Chicano Wu-Tang Clan, but from the West Coast.
That's right.
And what I mean by Wu-Tang Clan is just guys that are like lyrically inclined and can hold their own.
Yeah, for sure, brother.
And not, you know what I mean? So that's kind of how I'm like, let's put this group together. And then, you know, we got in the studio, man, and it was dope. We all got in here. I did all the beats and tracks. I mixed and engineered them, and they got in the booth, man. These guys they come with it, man.
That's right, brother. So let's end this thing here, and let's give you the last word on where we could find you on social media, what you're working on, and anything else you want to say, brother. Talk to us.
Yeah, well, you can find me my website at esadavs.com. On IG, I believe it's 110 South Spanish Fly. Also on YouTube, I believe it's I think it's Spanish Fly 110 South. Or you can also put Esadavs YouTube, it should come out. That's pretty much where you can find me as far as my music goes. And on the esadavs.com, you can find all the old school Trust No Man. You know, you can get CDs from there. yeah, so that's it. As far as finding me, and just to be on the lookout for like Johnny D's new album I'm working on right now. It's gonna be a dope one. We're gonna shoot the video Thursday for his first single called "Press the Line," where he touches on a few things like the COVID-19 to the police brutality. He gets in a little bit of that, and the Spanish Fly album, the reintroduction, featuring Anamine, Smokes, Johnny D. That's out right now. Check it out on iTunes, brother.
And other than that, a little Basset Hound told me that you're going to be a father for the first time here.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Congratulations, brother.
Thank you, man. January, man. It's a little girl, so, I'm just blessed, you know what I mean? That just.
You guys got a name set out yet or no?
Nah, if it was going to be a boy, I had the name for the boy.
Okay.
David Jameson, man. But it's not. It's a girl, so I leave it up to her, and she's still kind of like in between. So.
Well, I hope, Daz, that you weren't the guy who did the reveal party that got the fires going on over here in San Bernardino.
Oh, that's crazy, man. I hate to be that person. Man.
Oh man, that kid's in debt till he's about 65, my boy.
Wow.
Hey, brother. Well, it's been nothing but a pleasure talking with you, getting some history out of you, and getting some straight, just real stuff, organic stuff out of you, man. It's been a pleasure, and I appreciate you coming on, brother.
Hey, man, thank you, man. I just want to thank you and your show, American Cholo, just for having me on. I appreciate it, brother. And personally, I think we need more shows like yourself, because it's we're talking real deal stuff. It's not just drama, and so I really like that, brother. So I think you do a great job, man. Thank you for having me on.
Ladies, this is your Theo from 92 Point Skeet. Nothing but heat rocks to melt your skeet socks. Coming live from the 110 South studio. Let me adjust my mic while you adjust your panties. Bringing you nothing but smooth grooves to keep you in the mood. Sit back and enjoy the groove. Moist sounds with
This
no
game
lube.
crowded with lames, I don't associate. Property, what I'm really trying to accumulate. Versatile with the flow, Cuban illuminate. That's why these hoes is constantly trying to fornicate. Crack enthusiast, homie, I'm nothing new to this. Pot to the stove, product tan like sun dubious. Y'all carbon copies of us, weapons I trust. Homie, fuck all y'all interviews if you ain't talking to us. New Spanish Fly, the 40, I let it fly. Slugs hit your car door, then ricochet off your eye. Santa Ana block, cut a hate crack killer. Cooking up with dad, serial track killer. Let the product play, we don't do no fillers. Beam to your chest, moonwalking, it's not Thriller. After midnight, it's double or no dealings. Fiends hit the tan and crash like Matt Dillon. I saw. It's a dirty game with dirty lames and dirty hoes. I saw all that tough talk, that whoop whoop, let it go. I saw. It's a dirty game with dirty lames and dirty hoes. I saw all that tough talk, that gang gang. Prove it, dawg.
Yeah, full of slow youngsters. Have you ever wondered how you came from so far? You was heavy under, how to bounce back from the pressure and pain? Did you harbor the mountains and hover the plains? How about running it back and doing it again? Would you make the same choice you did back when you was young and fullest, local in the head? Now you're holding wise and the vocal is bred. Listen up, little homie, yeah, I'm talking to you. You ain't never fit the part and you ain't fit for a crew. I'm an old school spitter with a new school groove. I'll be going in December on a deep sea cruise. Mo C, John D, S.A. dies and we fly, stay high by any means.
I saw. It's a dirty game with dirty lames and dirty hoes. I saw all that tough talk, that whoop whoop, let it go. I saw. It's a dirty game with dirty lames and dirty hoes. I saw all that tough talk, that gang gang. 100 on your head with with hands up on the beat. Now it's time for all you rookies to experience defeat. I'll take a picture with you when we hit that meet and greet. Or maybe with your bra, but we gon' keep that shit discreet. I'm a legend on the beat, and a monster in the street. So why the fuck did I said dads let this vato off the leash? I know they gon' feel it when I G-bless this beat and walk off with the bread and flip that 1,000 in the street. Motherfucker, this is me. Oh my, put the city in the sky. Tell that bitch to walk by and let a motherfucker ride. I'm on. I got the whole dub by my side, motivated by the grind and the vibe. I'm feeling this shit, I'm killing this shit, drilling this shit. Now it's time for everybody in the hood to witness this. I came, I saw. It's a dirty game with dirty names and dirty hoes. I came, I saw all that tough talk, that whoop whoop, let it go. I came, I saw. It's a dirty game with dirty lames and dirty hoes. I came, I saw all that tough talk, that gang gang. Prove it. I came, I saw. It's a dirty game with dirty names and dirty hoes. I came, I saw all that tough talk, that whoop whoop, let it go.